Okay, so I'm just going to continue on setting out the interior and focusing on the openings, but also any other different construction types you have here. So before going too far, I just want to get a few more layers, and this is a common approach in AutoCAD. Like I said, I'll show you some drawings that I've got after I finish recording that have a lot more layers in them, just to give you an idea maybe of some standard setups that you'll have in the end. And I often do use templates that have these layers when I'm working on my own projects, but it's not necessary when you're doing your own. It actually can be more helpful sometimes to start with an empty drawing and just add the layers as you go. Otherwise you'll find yourself scrolling through huge lists of layers at first, and often you won't be using all of them. So it's not a bad thing, and also it gets you used to making the settings that you need for the layers as well. So I've got this wall layer, and now that we know the material, we can put that in as well. So it's a wall masonry or brick. You can use either. So do you know that term masonry and why it's used for brickwork? Exactly, spot on, exactly right, that's exactly right. So stonemasons, you've probably all heard of the Masons, which began life as a, not as a cult, but or whatever they are, an organisation. They were stoneworkers, of course, and they cut stone and laid it in blocks, and brickwork is laid in a similar pattern. So even though brickwork is done by bricklayers who are a different trade to stonemasons, it's often referred to collectively as masonry because it behaves structurally in the same way. And it's quite different to large single pieces of stone or to concrete, which is was actually still classified as masonry, but you need to think of that as having different properties to blockwork, which is the connection between those two different constructions. And so again, it can be masonry or brick, it's up to you, but I like to just collectively call the blockwork, whether it's stone or brickwork, masonry. And then the solid brick material, also the solid brick, the solid equivalent of masonry is often these days going to be not stone as it was in the very distant past. Still, you sometimes find solid stone construction, but usually it'll be instead concrete. So technically concrete is still a type of masonry, but it's important that you differentiate that in your drawings from blockwork. So this is, in this building anyway, going to be mainly done for the columns, and you'll have the walls again, mainly masonry. So I've got column concrete. We're going to have different types of walls, so that's why I've got that wall layer differentiated, because we're going to have stud walls, especially once you start putting your own design in, and you'll need different wall layers for those. But then the concrete will again mainly be columns, and so I'm going to set that to the standard colour for concrete, which is green. And then just like the walls, we'll need a hatch, so a column. And I could put concrete hatch, but we're probably only going to have these concrete columns, and so we can just use the one hatch layer for those. So pattern or hatch. And just like the wall hatch, make that have a lighter line weight. And the colour could be a lighter shade of the main concrete layer colour. Okay, so then again for the wall, I'm just going to leave the one wall hatch layer, and just think about the way you're going to use these. You could break it up to have another layer for different wall types patterns. So you could have one hatch layer for your stud walls and another hatch layer for the masonry walls, but the way you're going to be using it, you just want to be able to turn off the hatch patterns as a group usually, so it's not a bad thing to have them all on one layer. And if you need to, you can always break it up. So later, so we can break it up. But anyhow, now I'm just going to make the column concrete layer current. Close this, and so remember these lines here for the column, so I'm going to change them to the column concrete layer. And while I'm at it, I might actually just make that door layer a bit clearer. It's not coming up that clearly on the projector, so I'm going to just change that. And yeah, I think the line weight would help as well. So because this will be 1 to 50, I think we can make the line types a little bit heavier. So I'm going to make that door frame layer a little bit heavier just while I'm at it, and the window frame layer as well. And these things you'll find once I show you my finished drawing how these line weights will vary a lot. And then, so I'm going to fix this frame thickness. So, okay, so I've gone and measured the wall myself, and the wall thickness is actually 130, which was actually what I was expecting. So we've drawn a 150 because if you measure what you'll see initially, that's probably close to the measurement you'll get, because the frame projects past the wall. Okay, but now I know it's actually from the wall 130, so I'm going to offset that correct distance, and just quickly use fillet to join that again. You can stretch it back, but it's easier just to redo it with offset in this case. And then now the door jamb, in this case, in this instance anyway, goes to the corner. So I'll show you how to use stretch to do that, so we don't have to redraw all of this. Okay, so using stretch here, you've got in the modify panel the stretch tool. And the secret to using stretch is to make your selections right to left. If you go left to right, you'll see you get a blue window, and it usually won't work properly. So the key to it is to go, again, right to left, so that you get this green window with the dashed border, and that's called a crossing window if you don't know. And it will select the things inside the window, but also anything it's touching, and that's what you need for a stretch to work. So there you can see I'm just going over the 2 corner points of my door jamb that I want to move. Enter, and then I'm going to click onto the corner point here, and then take that to the corner of the wall. So stretch is a really useful command, but sometimes people have trouble using it. Okay, so I'll show you the same thing here with a slightly more complicated example. Firstly, I'm going to have to extend this line. So I'm going to use lengthen instead of stretch to keep it at the same angle. And then type in my distance. So we know it's originally 100, and we're adding, we're making the wall thickness 130, so I'm just going to add 30 mil. Type in 30, press enter. And now I could use move to just move that line simply to the end, but stretch also would work here, so I'll just show you that. Stretch over that, and then can pick that up on the end point and snap to the corner. I'll show you with move, the same thing, clicking on the move button, selecting the object, enter, and then this time I just need to click a base point on that end of the line, and then click onto the end here. Okay, so we know that the door jamb projects because the door jamb is thicker than the wall. So it's 140 door jamb. So we know that at the moment that's 130, so I'm just going to offset 10 mil from here, and on the other side too. Now I can move the door, so it's important that the whole door now and the door swing get moved, so using the move tool. I've selected them both, so I can click move now, and then pick it up onto the endpoint there and snap it to here. And now I could either stretch these, that would be a bit tricky without picking up the wall. You can do it, but it's probably easier for you just to use fillet and join these together. There, it's important that you don't use fillet for this side, because that, remember, is the column. So instead, draw a new line for the door frame from that corner to there. Hopefully that makes sense. And so it's good to try not to have overlapping lines. You could, if you wanted to, extend that door frame line down to there, which is in a way technically correct, but it just makes the drawing a bit messier, so it's probably better to have the line finished there. And then the same over here. So the wall should take precedence over the door jamb. For some reason, what's my wall thickness? That should be showing heavier. 0.35, okay, it is heavier. It's just not reading that way because the colour of the door frame is brighter, but that is thicker than that, believe it or not. So you can see there the door frame, 0.3, the wall, 0.35. Maybe I'll make it 0.4 just so it stands out. That's better. Okay, so I can delete this line and then fill it to join this one and draw a new line in on the other side. Okay, so that's important because that you get definitely that door drawn accurately before attempting the next part, which is to draw the column within that wall. Okay, so again, using the measurements you've taken, I can offset now 3680 from the wall. So again, this door jamb is still simplified. We can put in the rebates and other things afterwards, but the important thing there is that we have that wall edge to measure from. So using offset now, I can put in the distance that you've measured, which again is 3680, and click to that side, and then offset again 370 from that line to give the column thickness. And now again use trim with these two lines as cutting edges, enter, and then choose those two to remove. And now I can draw a new line in on my column layer. So notice I'm trying to use tricks there to get the lines to be perpendicular to each other. Because if I try and draw new lines in, it's much harder to make them perpendicular to these lines that are at different angles. Okay, so to make the next part easier, what I'm going to do now is rotate the whole drawing so that it is at an easier angle to work with. And then I'll finish the column off. Okay, so it's important that you can draw things at unusual angles like this, and that's something you will need to do quite often. But when you get to the point of doing construction drawings, you'll often want the whole drawing rotated to an orthogonal angle, and for that you can use a tool in AutoCAD called UCS, or User Coordinate System. And you can either click on the little down arrow there on your drop down below the view cube, or even more simply just type in UCS, enter, and then I'll start by just placing it onto a new point here. I'm going to click onto the corner to set that new base point, and now I'm going to click another point following along at that angle. And so notice how X and Y are aligned with my walls, and then it's asking me now for the direction, and so that can be either up or down. I want this to be up, so I'm just going to click a point above. You can just press enter and it will do the same thing. And now you can see there my XY axis exactly is following those walls. Now I need to get the view to match that. And so for that, you need to type in plan, P-L-A-N, enter, and then just press enter to use the default option, which is current. Okay, so that's rotated my whole drawing. Sorry, it hasn't rotated the drawing, it's rotated my view. So it's important to realise it's not actually rotating the object. So that's important because we may need to go back later to that original orientation, which was set to true north, and that's going to be a useful thing. But for drawing purposes, this will be much easier. So now, instead of always using offset and trying to draw things based on lines that I already have, if I need to draw a new line, watch how much easier it is now. I can click onto a corner point here, coming straight across, it's going to snap automatically to 0 degrees, which is the angle that wall is already at, or that edge of the wall. Okay, so that's a really useful option when you, again, particularly with construction drawings, but lots of things when they're at different angles. So now the wall thickness there is, again, 130. And think about why it's 130. Any idea why I had an idea in advance that the wall thickness would be 130? Yeah, exactly. Standard brick is, what's the size of a standard brick? You just said it? Yep, 110. No, 110 is right. That's right. That's spot on. Yep. Okay, so 110 is standard brick thickness, and then you've got 10 mil of render either side. Okay, so that's a common wall thickness for interiors with single brick. Okay, so we've got 130. We want our columns to be 350, and I've measured them. They are actually pretty close to that thickness. Okay, so then that's going to leave us with 220 still to add here, and then we can come down. I'll turn ortho on now for that, and then type in 350, and then now my maths is out. So no, sorry, you've measured this as 370, so it probably is rectangular, not square. So we'll come down. Sorry, 370 is probably right, and then back to here. And now with a column, it should probably take precedence over the wall ends, so we can actually delete these lines and extend the columns instead. It's probably better. And they should probably read as thick as the walls. So I'll make that 0.4 as well. It's nice if you can get your thicknesses to 0.4. It does read as a nice thick line. It's just that when the lines are close together, they might overlap. So I'll have to check that later though. Okay, and so you could even go as far as putting in the column thickness here and assume that it's the same. So if I offset 370 for that one, join those together, and we would have a pretty good idea that this wall here is also 130. So I can offset 130 from there. If you want to set out the opposite side of the corridor here, I'll extend this line up just so you can see the distance there. And so I've measured this. It should be what I've drawn, which is, I'll just take the measurement again, 2632. Should be the internal width there. And you could start even drawing in what's on the other side of that wall if you want to. So it's a nice thing to have some of the things around your space established as well. Just tidy it up as you go. And now we know once we've got this line here and extend it, we know how that corridor should continue into the next building. So that's why I left that until I had these measurements. And now this wall, remember, is going to change thickness. We'll have a look at how that happens as well. That's not 300 all the way through. It's going to reduce down to internal double brick, which is, well, what's an internal? What's a a cavity brick wall normally is 270. With these ones we know are a little bit thicker, so they're 300 because we've got render, but also the brickwork's spaced a bit more for structural purposes, and also probably some ducts. But then an internal double brick wall, what do you think that thickness would be? Yep. Yeah, no, in between. 230. Yeah. And it's easy to remember because a brick size is 110 by 230. 110 by 230 by 76. Right, and the reason it's 230 instead of 220 is because they have 10 mil for the mortar. So it's 110, 10 mil of mortar, and then 110 again. And so when you see a solid brick wall, the bricks on the end that are 230 should line up exactly with two 110 bricks with 10 mil mortar in between. And so this wall here, in between the corridor walls, is side walls, is 230. Okay, so I'll show you that. So if you trim these, so I'll trim it to here. Now that'll do. And then just draw a new line in from there across, and then wrong side. Sorry, it's going to line up with this face, and then from there it'll be 230 instead of 300. Yeah, on either side of the door as well. Yeah. Okay, so now I can start joining these lines together. We don't know what's inside that duct. We'll maybe work that out later, but for now we can at least get some indication of what it looks like up to there, and then we'll continue the corridor. There's a few more measurements I'll need to give you for that as well. But that's the way you want to approach it. So just think about what's on the other side of your wall, not just what you see on the inside. And then coming over to this side, we have the windows, which extend all the way to the corner. In that corner anyway, I think maybe there's a tiny return, but I think we can ignore it. So that means this line can extend to the outside of the building. And then, so I'm just switching over to the west elevation that you've done, which was a good one. Where was it? Here we are. And actually the measurements, yeah, no, this one's the best one. Oh no, here, this one's good too. Yeah, sorry, so it looks like you've got different measurements here. Oh no, so I'm just misreading. I think that's an 8 and a 9. Yeah, so there is maybe a 10 mil return there. Yeah, maybe we'll put it in. It's only small, but let's get it right. So I'm going to say 10. Or, no, let's do what you've measured. Let's do 9. Because it's only little, but let's do it exactly right. And I'm going to do something you might be surprised by here. I'm going to fill it. Yeah, I'll just fillet these and then we can draw some more lines in. So I'm going to fillet these lines together. Okay, so I've lost the lines coming back to the point I started at. I've done that on purpose because now I want to use my window. Well, I'm going to use a couple of layers here. So we've got window framers. You're going to have to show the windows, the wall sill as well. So I'll need another layer for that. But for now, I'll just go to the window frame, and we'll just roughly establish some sort of frame here, and Again, let's do it the way it really is. So let's say it's visually, it looks to me like it's about 10 mil from the corner. So I'm going to draw a line from the corner there and then bring it across. So if you're not familiar with that technique, when you use tools like line, if you've got this one here, snapping reference lines turned on, and then either ortho or polar probably is easier to use, then you can hover on the corner point like this, move the cursor away from that, and you'll see that it's going to give you a little marker, which might be hard to see, but hopefully you can notice there's a tiny little cross. And so if you go over the corner point again, it'll take that away. So I'm just going to do it one more time, and now you can see as I come to the left, it's going to give me a measurement from that point. I'm going to type in 10, which will begin a new line 10 mil from the corner point. So that's a really useful option. You could always use offset if that's not working for you, but it can save you some time. And so then I'm going to assume now just 30 mil for the frame, and then we'll come across, again just simplifying it for now, 100 mil, and then down perpendicular again. So then, just maybe to make you visualise or help you visualise this a bit more, I'm going to draw some lines on the window projection layer from the corner coming straight up. Just so it's clear, if it wasn't before, why I've got these different layers. Okay, so I imagine this is the window frame. I haven't put the sashes in yet, but this is the fixed part of the frame around the outside. So I've got there the part that's cut, and then the part that's below the part being cut that we're viewing from above. So does that make sense when you're viewing something like this? That you've got the frame you can see on the side being cut, and then the part of the window frame that runs along the top of the wall, runs along the sill, is below the cut plane. So that needs to show with a lighter line weight because they're not cutting it. Right, so I'll come back and I'll put the sash in, and it'll have a part being cut and a part below the cut plane as well. But before I do that, I need to work out my opening size. So remember that basic principle: whenever you work with an opening, such as a window or a door, establish the opening size first. And here you've measured it as 4765, so I'm going to offset using that measurement, 4765 from the wall to above. So that's where our column should be. 330 offset now from that line to above for the other side of the column. And then now 4030, and yeah, we've got a problem. Okay, so I think one of these measurements must be wrong. Luckily, this is why I was happy for you to do doubling up. Yeah, I think the people doing materials, your measurements might be slightly off. Yeah, that's okay. So that's good. So that can, help you to know when you're measuring what's important and what you really need to double check. So, okay, so I'm going to delete that line and use the other measurement. So from here to here is 4837. So the other measurement was 4700. Now, okay, so what I might do is delete those lines as well. Possibly, but you can't be sure. I'd say they're pretty close, but they may not be exactly. We'll have a look in a second and find out. So, okay, so I'm going to just use the other measurements. 4700 was the other one. And then, again, well, this time 340, which sounds better, actually. And then 4700. That's better. Okay, so now what we're left with to the corner is 192, which is not quite enough. So I think maybe also the measurement down here isn't enough. So to fix that, I'll show you stretch again. So with stretch, I can start right in the corner there, zoom out, so it does work with zooming, and then just go over all those lines. Enter, click, move it up. Now notice that it's picked up the wall. I'll show you how to fix that in a second. And that's not because I missed the point, it's because when I zoom, it can affect the way that crossing window selects things, but that's okay. So the distance there needs to be 21 more. So 21, enter. And now we know this is probably not straight. I'm just going to double check that because it's... Yeah, okay, so be careful of that. When you measure things, sometimes the angle will still make it seem like it's straight because the angles sometimes don't show you the decimal place, but you can tell from the delta X and delta Y if something's straight or not. So it's not straight because I can see there delta Y is 21. So, easy way of fixing that. Select the two lines there that join at the corner, click onto the grip, and then with ortho on, take it down and type in 21. Oops. Enter. It's gone and snapped. Let's do that again. It's interesting. Doesn't want to do the direction. I'll just use stretch. Okay, so stretch here would work just as well. Going over the corner and then just making sure I snap the right direction. 21. Enter. Okay, so now if I measure this distance, let's see, we know it's never going to be perfect because we're not using the exact angles, but 171, that's much closer to what the measurement was taken as, and then that was 130. Possibly I can't read these measurements, maybe that's 80. It can't be 80 in the corner there, can it? No, couldn't be. Okay, so I'll live with that. We could always adjust that, the returns later if we have to. So back to the columns. I can put these lines onto the column layer as well, draw some more lines in. And as you were saying, it's probably a good idea to check to see whether these line up. They seem pretty close. Let's have a look. Close enough. Okay, so then the just to continue with the windows, this is really what I wanted to show you because this can be quite tricky. You've got 4 sliding panels in each window, and they're divided up into 2 bays, and they've got mullions between them that are fairly thin. So it'll help you a lot to draw. Yeah, if you could open the other one too. So you want to draw some set out lines here to help you work these things out. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line from one corner of the opening to the other corner, and I wanted to show you how to use the divide and measure tool, but in this case you don't even need to because it's just divided into 2. I can draw a line from the midpoint there coming across. Say if you needed 3 panels, do you know how to divide into 3? No. Oh, okay, so I'll just show you that. You don't need it here, but you may for other things. So in the draw submenu there, you've got the divide tool. And then you can select the line and then type in 3, and that will give you points dividing that line evenly into 3 segments. So now I can draw a line. Notice it's not snapping to the point, so I'd have to go and also turn on the object snap node option. and then it will snap to those points. So that's how you should do it. But again, in this case, I don't need 3, I only need 2, so I can just draw a line from the midpoint there. And now we've got the again, we've got the frame there that I've done as a simplified version, 30mm by, well, the other dimension doesn't matter. So you can just, again, follow that simplified approach. It's probably not even 30mm. I think we'll just keep it at that, just to keep it simple. So I'm going to offset, not 30, but 15 from this centre line, above and then below. Oops. Delete the original centre line, so I don't need it anymore. And then change these 2 lines to my window frame layer, window. And then I could extend these lines to meet that, maybe just to make it a bit easier. So going to the extend tool, can select the bottom line there as my boundary line, and then click on these 2 lines here. And now I might just draw some new lines from the ends of those, going straight up, before filleting those all together to get the, what's essentially the mullion between our 2 window panels. Oops, sorry, just filleting again. There we are. And now I could use mirror, selecting those frame lines and also the projection lines, but not the mullion lines. I can use mirror and snap to the midpoint of my mullion, coming across with, maybe with ortho on makes it easier, and then no to delete source objects, and that should line up exactly then with the top. Okay, so then the next part is probably the hardest, getting the sash or panels that slide within that frame set out properly. So again here, it'll help you a lot to think about how that's divided first before you try to draw in the panels. So we know it's divided into 2, so I'm going to simply draw a line from the midpoint of one of those projection lines, and that should be exactly in the middle of that panel. And then again, doing a simplified version, we actually have a fixed panel and then a just one sliding panel, but I'll draw them as though, so oh no, it would be, yeah, yeah. So the reason it doesn't look like it is though is because the fixed panel doesn't have the same frame thickness. But we'll just draw it in a simplified way as though it's framed the same way on both sides. And that'll give you a good idea how you draw one with 2 sliding panels, and then you can just modify it if you want to show the outside one as fixed. So we'll say it is, again, 30mm, but this time 30mm square. So remember, the thickness here was 100mm. So if it's 30mm square, times 2 is 60. So that's going to leave us 40mm. Divided by 2 is going to be 20mm either side. So I'm going to offset 20mm from, I'll work from the outside in. And then now I'm going to offset my 30mm. And then again 30mm from the edge of the frame. And that's my sash. So it sounds complicated when you explain it, but when you draw it yourself, this should be much clearer. And these are the sorts of things you just have to work out for yourself as you're drawing usually. Okay, so now I can fillet those lines together. And I've got my square frame for the sash or the sliding panel. And now, this is the quick way. I can just copy this using the midpoint, not the corner. So the midpoint on one side, doesn't matter which side, will go and line up with the centre. Because remember, these two frames, think about it as two sliding panels initially, instead of a fixed and a sliding. They need to overlap. Right, so there'll be another one, so I'll just draw a line here. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so we can remove one of these frames later, you'll see, but for now this is easier to draw. So I'm going to copy these lines now, and this will be the beginning of the other interior frame. And now I'm going to copy these three lines up to the top. So that's the sliding panel. And then I'll go and draw some lines on the window projection layer. So that line now should be the same length in all the other instances, so I can copy it from there to there, and then also down to here and here. Don't need that centre line anymore, so I'll delete that. Okay, so does that make sense? You can see there those two fit exactly. And now I can use my glazing layer to draw the glass. I could copy one of those lines actually, but I'll just draw a new line and copy that line. Up to here. And just to make it clear that it's a sliding panel, it's a really good idea then to draw a line for the track. So up to here, and then down to here. Okay, so that's it. That's probably enough detail for those windows because they're existing, you're not going to change them. If you're putting in new windows, you'd need to draw with a lot more detail for construction. And do you know where to get window details, section details? Exactly, exactly, that's right. Find specifications for the windows that you're installing and just take it directly from there. You'll find they're really detailed. They draw, show exactly what the shape of the profile is and everything else. Okay, so that should fit pretty well. And now, because I've divided it up evenly, I can copy all of those things. Now, just be careful when you zoom as you're selecting, like I just have, it'll only select things that are inside your window as you at the view you've got or where you zoom to. So you sometimes will need to go and make sure everything's selected. You can always use Shift to deselect things. So there we are. I've got one too many, so I don't need that either. So I've just got the internal lines there from my window there, the frame lines. Also the panel or the sash lines. And now I can copy these from the corner here up to the corner on the mullion, and be pretty certain that it's going to line up exactly at the top. Notice I'm not using mirror here because they're not actually mirrored, they're copied. And so then again I can select all of these, try and get it with it zoomed out, and then you can always zoom in to deselect if you have to. There we go. So that's everything, I think, and then again I can copy all of that up the top. And again, should line up exactly. And then if you have to draw in the lines for the wall again, these would actually be maybe concrete in the end, but for now I'll just leave them as masonry. And that's going to give you a really good set up for the windows. And maybe at this point it's worth having a look at how that's going to print so you can really get to grips with the line weight. So I'm just quickly setting up a page, and there on layout 1 I can go to my page setup manager just by right clicking on the tab, go to modify and check the page size. It's usually going to be A4, you just want to check that, and the plot style table on monochrome, the printer on probably just use Adobe PDF if you're in here, or actually sorry, no, DWG to PDF in case you don't have Adobe. And so now I'll go to preview, and I can see already my line weights. And so like I was saying, it's good if you can get those heavy line weights, but notice how now my lines are overlapping a little. They're just a bit too close to be able to use the heavy line weights that I wanted. But like I was saying, you can't always get those 0.4 and above. And this here, this is A4. Actually, it won't fit on at A4 with 1 to 50, so I have to go back and try A3. And that will give me more room, obviously, so I can then try moving that viewport up and then making it bigger. That's pretty good. But still, if I go and look at the plot preview, okay, the windows are looking okay, but again, still the line weights are a bit too heavy. Yep. So it's mainly the glass that is the culprit there, so I'm going to take that glazing back down to 0.3, and maybe my frame for the window particularly needs to be thinner, so maybe 0.25. And let's see now how they look. Much better. Yeah, it's hard to see on the projector. I can actually see a gap here on my screen. So when it prints, you'll get a gap, so that's okay. Can't zoom in any further on the... oh yeah, we can, sorry, there we are. So you can see there is a gap, and that's all you need. Okay, so that's what you want to aim for when you're setting up detailed drawings like this. Always have a look at your print preview if you're not sure about the line weights, because you can't really tell just by looking on screen, especially in the model tab. So use the same approach to set up the windows for the area here that you have into the computer room there. But I'll let you try and work those ones out. They're much simpler, but see if you can work those out on your own.